we'll be looking at learning objective 3, LO3. And the focus of LO3 is very much on organizational learning and effectiveness and innovation and teamwork. It's also stuff around improving organizational effectiveness to performance management and stuff around change management. Now that is really too much to cover in one session. So what I usually do is, because the next section is just motivation, theories of motivation, I normally move all the change management stuff to LO4. So next week we'll look at motivation and we'll also look at the change management stuff. Today we'll look at teamwork, performance and organizational effectiveness, and learning and innovation. Okay, so that's the way I usually do this one. So let's start with teamwork. Easy place to start. So there are very clear benefits to working in teams. For instance, improving productivity, encouraging idea sharing and innovation, more motivating for many employees because we are human beings, we are social beings, we like working and interacting socially, and that gives you a nice work environment to now give our best at work, improving quality, reducing absenteeism and turnover because people are pulled to work because of the social interaction. However, the question is, are there disadvantages to working in teams? Do anyone want to talk about potential flip side or downside of teamwork?
There can be several different diverse opinions, and they can be less focused as to achieving the goal. A particular vision might differ from another. So that can happen.
Okay, so very good contribution there. And there's the idea that because of so many opinions and if you say too many cooks spoil the broth, it can take quite a long time to get stuff done, actually arrive at a decision, especially when you have urgent or crisis situations. It may not be the best team approach. You have to be more decisive and give instructions to others rather than like you get as a team approach. So yes, there's situations where teamwork may not be the most appropriate model to use. There was also in your comment, there was also the issue of conflict. This is a bit more complex. Some people will say, oh, teamwork can bring more conflict. But others will say, well, the conflict is there. They're just suppressing it if you don't have teamwork. Teamwork just gives the voice to express it, and therefore you can now solve it. But not make it. And so on and so forth. Some people are lone wolf. Some people work more effectively or prefer to work alone. We have different personality types to come and support. So the thing is to be a bit more critical, but yes, generally speaking, it's a lot of benefit. Um, Another key concept we like to introduce is the difference between formal and informal groups. Um, so formal groups are defined by the organization and they usually appoint a leader and so on and so forth, structured by the organization. However, informal groups appear. So sometimes you have, especially where the formal leader may be weak or ineffective, you have an informal leader taking on a lot of that role and responsibility. So the informal is what actually happens in reality, beyond or outside it, formal structure by the organization. So the organization puts you together in a group and appoints a leader and gives everyone different tasks and roles. But in reality, people's tasks and roles may be different, and people's exercise of leadership may be different. And because more informally, people will fill the gaps that the formal structure hasn't quite sorted out. So you have the idea of informal groups. You also have the idea of the difference between teams and groups. Teams are more task focused. They have a clear objective and task, whereas groups are more identity based. We do not have the same task, but we share the same identity, same space, same we're going through the same process. So a very typical example is a classroom, class of students are a group. We share the same identity and share similar activities. In that they occupy the same space to learn together, they share the same identity as classmates in the same cohort of students or year of students. But they're not a team. In that each person still within that shared identity acts for himself or herself and focus on his or her personal goals. Right? When we now put people in that large group into specific teams and say, as a team, we need to work together to make this presentation or work or research this case study and come back and present. Then you now have a common task, right? A shared identity plus a common task, and you are now a team. So the idea here is to help managers learn to manage groups and teams, one by knowing when to focus on identity building and shared identity, and also knowing when to focus on clarifying tasks and allocating tasks for a task force. And two, to understand the dynamics, the organizational dynamics, formal and informal structures, and to learn to look for informal structures. One of the ways assume things follow a formal structure. You need to learn to discern who are the natural leaders who have stepped in, who the people look up to before taking action, seek their advice and so on. So what are the informal structures and informal roles in the team? I will be covering some of the team roles very soon. That's important. So if you read most of the textbooks on organizational behavior, come up with this list of characteristics of effective team. Number one being very clear roles, shared roles, well-defined roles, open and honest communication, mutual trust, effective decision making that doesn't get out go around inside the continuous decision, balanced participation and leadership, so leadership that is actually quite balanced in terms of consulting and carrying people along, cooperation, cooperative behavior, collaboration among team members, and a clear process to manage conflict at work. Not that the pretend conflict doesn't exist, but you're able to manage it without breaking the performance of the team or the team dynamics or task. So these are the things to work on building if you are managing change. So what areas like communication, or is it clarifying the goals or defining people's goals? We also know that team effectiveness depends on a range of factors. Some important factors include skills and abilities of team members. So you need to be careful who you recruit to your team. Because once they're in the team, if they don't have the right skills or capabilities, by your ability to train them, then they will pull the rest of the team down. So skills and abilities are important, which is a better or compensate by providing training and development. The size of the team is important. A team that is too large cannot really communicate with each other and cannot really um, act effectively in a streamlined manner. Because you have too many people to carry along and it becomes too complex and communication takes too much time and so on. At the same time, a team that is too small for the task won't have enough people to share the role. ability won't have enough people with the right skills. You need to look for a size that's appropriate for the task. Uh, Often, generally speaking, um, the rule of thumb is anything that cannot switch on the table and look everyone eye, where people have to sit in two layers, one behind the other. So anything more than 12 or 14 people is usually too much. Um, you want a simple circle of communication. Um, Another factor that impacts on team effectiveness that you should take care and into consideration as a manager is the task, the objective of it. So determine the nature of the task or objectives you need to achieve will determine who you recruit, how many people you recruit, what skills you recruit, what resources you provide for the team, how long you have to go about the task and so on and so forth. All those things you need to clarify at the outset and communicate with the team members. You have a clear understanding of their rules of engagement or um, parameters within which to work. Okay. Um, One interesting model is Hoffman's model around the stages of skill development. It's really important for managers and leaders to understand how teams develop or how teams develop and communicate. And what Hoffman um, claims upon his research is that teams go through four, later extended to five stages of development. One is what he called the forming stage. Second is the storming stage. Third is the numbing stage. Fourth is the performing stage. And later he added a fifth stage which he called the adjourning stage. And the argument here is that um, managers need to know about these stages so they can know how best to support and coach the team through that stage of development and how to move on to the next stage. So the idea is that teams behave differently or face different challenges at different stages in their evolution. The first stage is the forming stage. Here, what the team is doing is getting to know themselves and what's the task, right? And for some things that can take 1 hour, for some things that can take 1 month, right? And your job as a manager or leader is to what the process goes through by clarifying the goals, clarifying people's goals, getting people to introduce to themselves, with the basics of name, phone numbers, contact details, emails, how are we going to operate, setting the formalities um, down in terms of basics of how to work as a team. And, and when at team meetings, everyone would like any group, how long do they last, and so on and so forth. So establishing that stuff at the beginning is quite important for the team to work effectively, ensuring everyone has everyone else contact details. Um, a big part of this also is helping people understand their role and who is in role. Not just your role, but the role of the umbrella team is quite clear around that. And also establishing the interpersonal relationships, right? A lot of research has shown that when people have good interpersonal relationships and friendships, so the social side of things, then the work side of things goes better, right? So when people, for instance, take time to just get to know each other on a social basis, let's say, what are your hobbies? Have you got family? What are your interests? What you like? What's your preference? What's your style? It warms people up because we are human beings and we are social beings, and when you can give a bit more context to the person you are working with, you know that, oh, this person really needs to close them because they've got children from school or whatever, right? So as when I'm working, I need to ensure I send my email on time, close up work, back close up work, person, I got to check their emails or whatever. It helps with team dynamics. When people are friends with each other and have a coffee, chat and so on, they tend to also do their work better because I'm a friend. So building all that kind of stuff, and you have some managers taking the team out saying, let's go for drinks, let's go for things. So all these kind of things can happen at the community. Storming, this is the stage at which team members test the limits and scope and boundaries of their roles and responsibilities and powers. They want to know how um, much influence they have, what the boundaries of their roles are. So you have a bit of a storm, because where people are not sure where the hand of it, where my job stops and what person will picks up. So they need to test it and figure out the boundaries. Because no matter how clear you are, if the reality is you need to work that out themselves. So at this stage, you shouldn't look at these things as abnormal or conflict. You should look at these as quite healthy forms of conflict. Really trying to test the power and influence scope and boundaries of their role. Some people trying to extend their roles, trying to want a bigger role for themselves, trying to push boundaries, so on and so forth. Some people who don't want to do as much, trying to say, well, actually, my role should be narrower and that X, Y, Z should be done by someone. So that is not like to the storming process and work out the smooth out the rough. So this is helping individuals move from very self-centered focus looking at themselves as individuals to now looking at themselves as a team and routine. And then you need to help them through the norming stage, where people are getting used to their roles, things are now clear. People now identify more with the team than with their individual tasks or goals or situations or whatever, and they come to accept other people's views and other people's contributions. That's basically getting used to how things start to work, and getting proficient in the process, how roles and responsibilities collaborate with each other. And if the norming stage goes well, then people now become experts and quite proficient. And this is where, if you look at the football teams, for instance, if you look at sports teams, it's a very good example. This is where somebody playing on the left wing, for instance, doesn't need to look up to know that the person on the center forward will be making the run. Just cross the ball because you've gotten to the stage of performing, you've gotten to the stage of even without looking, knowing what the other person wants and where the other person is. You've got to that level of teamwork and proficiency. So in an organization, you are really, really a well-oiled machine at this point, high-performing team. Everybody plays with their strengths, everybody competes with the other people's weaknesses, and you don't need much communication to figure out things. You already know what the other person is going to do and what you need to do. So that's the performing stage. And the idea is to get organizations or rather get teams to this stage, performing stage. And then you go to the adjourning stage. The idea here is that a lot of teams, especially high performing teams, don't want to end, don't want to eliminate. So they find it difficult to end when and to continue even when it's no longer appropriate to continue. That's functional business, trying to fight themselves relevant. But the idea is that it should be an end to everything, come to the task that should move on, join a new team, identify with the new team, coming back to the team. And part of it is helping people celebrate success and moving on and saying, knowing how to stay in contact with friends, in terms of the team. Also, sometimes adjourning happens when you have new team members replacing old, and you have to start again the process of identifying roles and responsibilities, helping the team members in the place. So these are the. Any questions so far?
Thank you.
Sacred. Another important theory by Belbin. Belbin's theory here says that every good team will have people playing these roles. These roles are necessary. And this goes back to the informal, when we talk about formal and informal. You can have a formal team, and one person is leader, another person is the accounting, finance person, another person is the project management person. But informally, people want to play roles, and one person can play more than one role. You have 9 roles, 90 roles, obviously you have a team of people. One person is playing more than one role and so on. So it basically says healthy teams, effective teams have different roles. So one is the plan. So this is the person who comes up with ideas, taking person, innovation, always coming up with ideas, but not necessarily the person who can implement these ideas or transform these ideas into a solution. But the person who comes up with someone with the ideas first. Plan. Investigator is the person who goes around and investigates the sources between information to relate people so we can get a better look with projector, can get talking machine, whatever, but also resources to carry out these ideas. So when someone comes up with an idea, we need resources to carry out the idea. We come up with this idea, we can do a presentation in this way, but we need, this XYZ. It's something like this presentation to can get. Yes. We need someone who can play that role. Like a leader who coordinates and delegates tasks and shows them that has a special work that are doing and coordinates everything, kind of like a leadership role. The shaper is the person who shapes the ideas into the shaper shapes the ideas into practical solutions. So the ideas, the plans may come up with 10 ideas. Some of them are wacky, some of them are not realistic, but the shipper can shape one or two of them into quite realistic approach. So the shipper doesn't necessarily come up with the ideas themselves, but they can work the ideas into something that makes sense and realistic. Your monitor evaluator, that's your strategic thinker, person who comes up with different options. People will have, for this thing, we can have option A, B, C, and these are pros and cons of this approach. So very analytical thinking, strategic thinking. The team worker, person or people in the same team ensure that friendships continue, including conflict is dealt with. Remember when it's someone's birthday, you spend 5 minutes celebrating that before getting down to the class. But to keep the social aspect of the team and friendships going. That's important. Your implementer is the person who can deliver the project, who can actually put the ground and shovel the plan and so on and so forth. Who actually does it. Your completer is the perfectionist who ensures you live up to the quality standard and is always motivating people to meet standards and quality standards. And your specialist, sometimes you need some skills, very specialist skills, maybe IT specialist, IT skills to run a particular software or something like that. So from time to time you need people research, you need some niche specialist skills. And for each of these, they have personality characteristics and weaknesses that typically go and reach that point. So the idea here is that we need to identify and help nurture and encourage people as they go. So we've done teamwork very quickly. We look at the idea of organizational learning. So a big idea of teamwork is people coming up with ideas, innovation, and learning together, taking on support each other. And so, how do you manage this as an organizational idea? How do you build and strength that kind of idea? Talking about organizational learning, how do we improve innovation and creativity, things like that. Um, So in terms of innovation and creativity, we would like to differentiate between a couple of things which is important for leaders to understand. Creativity is inventing something new, coming up with new ideas, but not all new ideas are workable or popular or difficult to market. Innovation is the ability to move this new idea, this creativity, to the point where you get a profitable product or service or operating process that adds value for the organization, right? Where the company benefits outweigh the cost. So a lot of organizations to do that to have ideas, but not to do that innovation management, managing the process of taking ideas into workable conditions, profitable products. So innovation is putting these into action that are in a way that is commercially the commercial exploitation of the idea. Now, a couple of things we like to emphasize when it comes to innovation as a leader. A lot of managers and leaders focus on product innovation, product that can be talking, which is very good. But we are also encouraging people to think about process innovation. So doing things in a better way, right? For the internal benefit of the organization. So a good example, if you are a car manufacturing company and you produce a new green car, new hybrid car, electric car, whatever that in the market, one of them is very new. That's a product. Customers will pay for that product, right? If, on the other hand, what you do is streamline your production process for your existing cars, your petrol or diesel cars, but you do it in a way that either save cost or save metal that goes into the body work or whatever. And that's a process of making. Too often organizations are too much focused on product innovation and it's not process innovation. By encouraging impact equipment now also talking about process innovations that can provide input. So that's one important thing we like to highlight when it comes to. Another thing we like to highlight when it comes to innovation is most leaders focus on innovation ideas, techniques that come from inside the business, within the business. They're always asking employees and so on, what what new ideas, getting on the business. Often ignoring innovation that can come from outside the business, but can be just as valuable. Innovation from your supply chain that can help you get better raw materials or cheaper raw materials, get raw materials in better distribution chain and distribute your product with a cheaper or better or more effective and innovation that comes from the university research departments and so on that we can tap into. So looking for innovation outside the business is also as valuable as trying to trend, even to trend in that area. This is the innovation funnel. So just kind of a model to help you with innovation management. So for instance, at the beginning of the funnel, you can get 50 ideas generated. And remember, we are encouraging you to get it from the inside and outside the business, both product innovation and process innovation. And then you have to go through some innovation management process. Therefore, you have some sort of assessment process where you assess the viability of these ideas and identify which of them to invest in. So that can scale it down to 20 ideas that you're now going to harvest and direction the company and spend some money on time or whatever they're putting in. And maybe out of these 20, only 10 go through the development process and come up with some of that kind of a and so at that point your innovation management needs to be testing where you now want to test it and do pilot tests on a system. Right? I don't know if you follow the news recently, but Tesla was showing their prototype of a new truck, and it was supposed to be unbreakable, the glass. And then the senior leaders in the organization, whatever, who are showcasing it to the media, use the sledgehammer and of the glass broke. So probably they were rushing to the exhibition, maybe not enough tests had gone into that. So they need to rigorous pilot testing, so on. And then maybe only 5 ideas survive in the launch of the launch. If you only one idea and get out of the system, then that's the society program that done. So what is often seen is the idea of the innovation funnel in the process of managing innovation, managing innovation is commercially exploitable idea. Some differences in some organizations, like some people who use a more agile approach, then rather than having one test and one line, they have activities like and launch it together. They give it to customer and say, well, the customer is the best person who can launch and get feedback and change, and then people really have different versions of the thing. So they see this a lot with the IT in there. But this is the traditional model. So you can just agile process yourself. But just quickly, is there any questions on this? Agile? Okay, so as part of your innovation funnel process of managing innovation, you need something that encourages ideas, uh, selects ideas, um, gives an idea to a business proposal, then can move it to a developable prototype that can be tested, pilot launch, and then you now need to look at the commercialization of it. Can you market it profitably, or will it add value to our organization? And then you need to look at protecting your innovation from copyright and things like that, product licenses, new service agreements, and how do you business and how do you commercialize spin-off, creating spin-off products, new markets, you affect your existing products. So sometimes if you affect your existing products, you have to be careful how you launch your products. So cash cow that is already making money for you, so you need to keep the way you launch your product. So it's probably that things you need to look out for in terms of innovation money. It's more for the time, it's about the process and thinking of everything that up to how you do the product. That's continuing improving that image. So then we come to the another aspect of organizational learning. So innovation and creativity is one aspect of organizational learning. Another model or theory around organizational learning is the idea of strategic learning. So the idea that learning of course are single, double, and triple learning. Um, and also really as a leader move your organization to have also level. So the most common level is most organizations stop at single learning. So we look at existing product processes and say how can we make it more efficient, how can we do that. Right? And that's good. We are thinking inside the box, not outside. Right? We are dealing with symptoms. So this product, we want to go through the process, we have 10 differentiations. How do we solve it? We have 10 differentiations. We are dealing with it. At double loop learning, we want to look at the underlying causes, the underlying problem. And I want to start thinking outside the box, right? Um, and we want to start encouraging innovation. We want to help organizations also move from improving efficiency and dealing with symptoms of a flawed process to double loop learning where they can actually look at the ticket, the underlying assumptions and beliefs of the teachers, and how do we and, and and then triple look learning is when you look at the organization itself and say an organization can make some radical change, right? As the video process of achieving of fundamental strategic principles and objectives. For instance, entering into the down, thinking about the box. So very few organizations encourage third level, people with level, um, important level. And then we come to the idea of learning organization. So these are organizations that use learning as a source of competitive advantage. So these are the very things we do. So um, very popular model of this is the one by Sesengi. Basically says that if you want to be a learning organization, you want an organization that is very agile and flexible and adapting to the environment, continuously learning and improving, and then you need to focus on 5 things. Personal mastery, so helping individuals and leaders in the um, continuous learning processes and mastering their areas of expertise, mental models, looking at helping people think outside the box and challenge mental models and thinking assumptions, developing a shared vision of where you want to as an organization and widely shared across the organization, helping people move from individual learning to team learning, helping individuals not just learn by themselves and work to for themselves, but as a team, collectively discussing and reflecting about processes and sharing ideas and learning about how to improve the process. And then of thinking, understanding that the organization is like an organism. One thing you change in the organization will affect other things and it is influenced by external environment. So thinking about how different parts of the organization are interconnected and how change in one area is going to affect other areas of the industry. So I'm going to give that quite popular at one point in time and to help you know embed that culture in the organization. And then finally we come to the idea of performance management. So we talked about organizational effectiveness in terms of developing effective tools. Then we looked at an aspect of that is also the learning and innovation, and then also we need to also look at how to manage and some. So for organizational effectiveness, traditionally we've looked at setting objectives and monitoring performance around financial um, outcomes such as profitability, liquidity, cash flow, return on investment, that kind of thing. People familiar with those financial measures. And then non-financial measures of productivity, such as productivity and quality measures, right? I mean, product per year you produce a fair from test your section, how many products you produce without the effect or percentage of quality. More modern approaches include things like what we call the balance scorecard, saying that rather than just looking at the financial perspective from usually the shareholders viewpoint, we also need to look at performance from the customer's viewpoint, so we have a customer perspective. Look at it from the employee's viewpoint, so we have an employee learning model perspective and the process of productivity perspective. So we look at the balance scorecard very quickly, and um, benchmarking also very important way looking at performance. You can look at internal benchmarks, for instance, and compare your performance this year against your performance last year for the past 5 years. These are the trends, internal benchmarking against yourself. You can look at competitive benchmarking against your close competitors or direct rivals. Benchmarking at the organization at strategic level and also functional level. So benchmarking is quite important. And then the balance scorecard here, you have to balance the financial with the other three perspectives. You can't just focus on the financial. So customer perspective will include customer loyalty, customer satisfaction, and so on and so forth. Your internal processes will include your quality, productivity, efficiency, your process, smart that or monitor that, and then your learning ideas, your skill development of your employees, your employee engagement. So the balance scorecard by Kaplan and Norton, very popular with organizations and developed on their annual stakeholder report, and to present not just the financial performance but performance in terms of customer retention, customer loyalty, customer satisfaction, internal efficiency and process efficiency, safety, quality, that kind of thing, and also employee learning growth, engagement, and more balance and stability of the performance and management. Um, and therefore, from this, you can now develop your PSS or success factors and your KPIs performance indicators at a more granular or detailed level for each of these examples are there. So, for instance, for customer satisfaction, customer perspective, you can look at speed of response to customer list or how quickly you respond to customers, how quickly you pick up the phone, and number of customer complaints. So we'll look at change management next week, like I said, but very quickly, just to recap, we looked at teamwork, looked at innovation and learning in organizations, and then we looked at performance management. Any questions or any comments?
Oh, so far no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so hopefully some of this will be applicable to your various organizations and you can start seeing why some things are being done differently. Okay, so hopefully see you next week and we'll look at motivation and change management.
Is there something I can ask?
Yeah, yes. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah?
Yes, I wanted to know when will we be able to see the recording of the previous session?
It usually you usually get an email with a link to it and it's usually uploaded to YouTube. So
All right.
so if you had a session now, so sometime in the coming week you get an email saying this is the link to the video recording, and or if you go to modules, you see where the video recording is there. So,
Okay, thank you.
but it usually takes at least a week or a few days. Within the coming week, it's usually done. If it's not done, you can contact the university admin. And
Oh, okay, thank you so much.
any other questions? Very happy to take questions or comments. Okay, so thank you very much, and see you next week.